Good morning, America. The state of the race. Overnight, Vice President Kamala Harris sits down with Governor Tim Walz in their first in-depth interview since taking over the Democratic ticket, recalling the moment she learned President Biden was dropping out.
He told me what he had decided to do, and I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes.
Harris breaking down her day one plan, and former President Donald Trump making news at his Michigan rally, vowing to make IVF treatment free if elected, but failing to explain how he would do this, with 11 days until the presidential debate.
Holiday travel rush this morning. TSA getting ready for its busiest day of the weekend. We're breaking down the best and worst times to head out, plus the severe storms across the country, where they're headed this weekend. Ginger has the forecast.
A new twist to the Idaho college murders case. Brian Koberger's legal team arguing to move his trial to another town. What the victims' families are saying. The investigation into Matthew Perry's death. One of the doctors charged due in court. The latest this morning.
Mosquito dangers. Health officials on alert with West Nile cases in dozens of states, and the threat of Triple E a major concern, especially in the Northeast. What officials are urging families to do.
Labor Day savings, the big ticket items to buy right now and what to wait on. Plus, the travel deals to look out for.
We've got a lot to talk about. Fantasy football. Football is back. Looking forward to that. Great to be here with Gio and Rebecca this morning.
Great to be here with you. I know how special that relationship is to you, so we're looking forward to that conversation. And coming up here, a look at the holiday travel rush. Today is expected to be the busiest travel day of the weekend. We're going to tell you what to expect and the best and worst times to hit the road.
But we begin with the race for the White House. Vice President Harris sitting down for her first interview since taking over at the Democratic candidate, along with her running mate Tim Walz, and former President Donald Trump attempting to rebrand his image on reproductive rights.
Our chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce starts us off in Savannah, where Harris held a rally on Thursday. Mary, good morning.
Good morning, Whit. Well, last night, this was the first time that we have heard from Kamala Harris in an in-depth interview like this since she was catapulted to the top of the ticket. She was methodical in her answers, with Tim Walz by her side there defending her record with President Biden, but making it clear she's eager to turn the page.
Nearly 6 weeks into her campaign, Kamala Harris overnight forced to explain her policy shifts, but arguing one thing has not changed.
I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed.
Asked if she still wants to ban fracking, something she'd vowed in 2019, Harris saying this.
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
And on whether she stands by her 2019 support for decriminalizing illegal border crossings.
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Running mate Tim Walz forced to explain what the Trump campaign has criticized as his misleading statements about his military service and his family's struggle with infertility.
I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights.
And for the first time, Harris recalling that surprise Sunday morning phone call from the president, informing her he was dropping out of the race.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces, and we had just had pancakes, and we were sitting down to do a puzzle. And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
Asked if he offered his endorsement then or if she asked for it, Harris saying only,
he was very clear that he was going to support me.
Now, 40 days later, Harris is surging in the polls, narrowly leading Donald Trump nationally. Asked what she would do on day one, Harris light on specifics.
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families.
She's adamant in defending her and Biden's record on the economy, but concedes.
There's more to do, but that's good work.
Now hoping to appeal to Republican voters, Harris also saying that if elected, she would consider appointing a Republican to her cabinet. Harris was under a lot of pressure to do this interview. Now with this big moment behind her, Harris now looking ahead to the next one, the first debate right here on ABC on September 10th. And Harris made clear not only is this going to be the first time that she faces off with Donald Trump, it's going to be the first time they've ever actually met. She was asked, though, about his attacks on her race and identity, and Harris saying bluntly, same old tired playbook. Next question, please. It's clear she does not want to dwell on her race and gender in this historic moment. But of course, the history of this not lost on her either. Harris saying, I am running because I believe that I'm the best person to do this job at this moment for all Americans, regardless of race and gender. Rebecca.
That debate moderated by our very own David Muir and Linsey Davis on September 10th, right here on ABC News. Thank you so much, Mary. We turn now to former President Trump, who is blitzing states in the Rust Belt and overnight making a promise about IVF. Selena Wang is in La Crosse, Wisconsin, where Trump held a town hall last night. Good morning, Selena.
Hey, good morning, Rebecca. Donald Trump is trying to rebrand his image on women's reproductive rights in order to shake up this race, claiming that he would make IVF treatment free without giving any details on how this would actually work. Overnight, Donald Trump floats a striking new proposal as he suddenly tries to rebrand himself on women's reproductive rights, an issue that he knows could hurt him at the polls in November. Trump claiming that he would make in vitro fertilization free if elected without providing any specifics on how he would pay for this costly plan or enact it.
Under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment.
IVF can cost tens of thousands of dollars, with nearly 90,000 babies born in the U.S. through fertility treatments each year.
We want to produce babies in this country, right? We want to produce babies.
Vice President Kamala Harris' campaign telling ABC News Donald Trump's own platform could effectively ban IVF and abortion nationwide. Trump lies as much, if not more, than he breathes. But voters aren't stupid. Trump making this proposal despite repeatedly bragging about appointing 3 of the Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe v. Wade, opening the door to new restrictions for fertility treatments.
We broke Roe v. Wade, and we did something that nobody thought was possible. We gave it back to the states.
Earlier this year, Alabama's Supreme Court declared frozen embryos human beings entitled to full rights, causing fertility clinics across the state to shut down for weeks. A new poll finding Harris has a 16-point advantage over Trump on who voters trust more to handle the issue of abortion. In his own home state of Florida, Trump now saying he opposes the state's ban on abortion at 6 weeks, before most women even know they're pregnant.
Well, I think the 6 week is too short. It has to be more time, and so and I've told them that I want more weeks.
Trump contradicting his own statements that the issue of abortion should be left to the states. But Trump's campaign attempting to appease his anti-abortion base, later saying he has not yet decided how he will vote. He simply reiterated that he believes 6 weeks is too short. Over the years, Donald Trump has flip-flopped on the issue of abortion, but his focus on IVF is clearly an attempt to blunt Vice President Harris's attacks that he would rip away women's reproductive freedoms.
And Selena, there's also a new ABC News Ipsos poll out overnight. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Rebecca, that's right. In a new ABC News Ipsos poll, it finds that only 29% say that Trump is prepared to accept the outcome of this election. But Trump's election denialism also resonates with some voters. Despite there being no evidence of widespread voter fraud, 1 in 3 say they are not confident that votes will be accurately counted in this election. Rebecca?
All right, Selena, thank you. Gio?
All right, Rebecca, we turn now to another major headline, the increasing concerns over mosquito-borne illnesses, with a Missouri teenager in the hospital on a ventilator after complications from the West Nile virus. And now more cases of the rare triple E virus. They're being reported. Erielle Reshef has been following it all. Good morning, Erielle.
Hey, good morning to you, Gio. Health officials are on alert in much of the country, with West Nile cases confirmed in dozens of states, and the threat of triple E a major concern, especially here in the Northeast.
As teams in New York City and along the Northeast unleash an attack on mosquitoes from the air and streets, health officials in Wisconsin confirming 2 people have now died in that state from West Nile virus. This morning, nearly 290 cases reported across more than 30 states, the mosquito-transmitted illness accounting for 100 to 200 deaths each year. In Missouri, 18-year-old John Proctor VI, now on a ventilator, contracting the disease early this month. His parents say symptoms started with headaches and dizziness, then spiraled into vomiting, disorientation, and a dangerous fever.
And to see him lethargic and struggle to do simple, basic functions, it's hard. The doctors describe this as a marathon to beat this virus, since there's no actual cure for it.
Many who get West Nile may not ever feel sick, but 1 out of every 150 people infected may develop serious, even fatal illness. And this morning, concern about another rare but potentially lethal mosquito-borne virus, triple E, with 6 people sickened in at least 5 states.
Now, there is no vaccine to prevent these mosquito-borne infections, and though severe cases and deaths are rare, officials in several states, including here in New York, are urging people to limit your outdoor activity from dusk until dawn, until the first frost. That's when mosquitoes are most active, so got to take precautions.
Especially tough during a holiday weekend, too.
Yeah.
Erielle, thank you so much. Now to that Labor Day weekend, the getaway. If you're planning on flying today, you'll have plenty of company. It's expected to be the busiest day of the holiday weekend at the nation's airports. Trevor Alt is here with more on the travel rush. Trevor, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Witz. So welcome to the busiest day of the Labor Day travel stretch for air travelers today. The TSA is estimating they're going to see the peak in terms of crowd screening, 2.86 million people. But as we know, this is not the only busy day. They're anticipating 17 million people over that long holiday weekend. That's from yesterday all the way to Wednesday. For most airports, the mornings are going to be the busiest time, but for international hubs, JFK, Dallas, Fort Worth, Chicago, O'Hare, the evenings there are going to be pretty packed. In fact, DFW and O'Hare, along with Atlanta, are expected to be the busiest airports overall. Now, how about for drivers, though? If you're taking off today, you want to get going soon. The worst of the traffic is going to be this afternoon and evening, but tomorrow morning it's going to be the opposite. We'll be very busy in the morning, easier later in the day. But the good news, universally for drivers, gas prices have dropped substantially from a year ago. They were $3.82 last year, now down to $3.36 a gallon, Gio.
Good to see those prices dropping. All right, Trevor, thank you so much. And as people get ready to travel for the holiday, let's go ahead and bring in Ginger with a look at the forecast. It is messy out there right now.
You know, and it doesn't take much, just lightning sometimes to get a ground stop. I saw a lot of those happening yesterday. So we're going to go through and see where the severe storms and even just lightning could be. But this was Anoka, Minnesota. This is the north side of the Twin Cities. Second time this week that the Twin Cities had to deal with damaging winds in excess of 60, taking down trees and power lines. And then this is Superior, Wisconsin. There's that lightning that will come with a lot of these storms. And so that's that front that will bring more of it. Sterling, Virginia even had some of the hail. And those two areas are seeing it again, especially in the thumb of Michigan. So Flint, Lapeer, Detroit, Ann Arbor, all in that 80. Going to be trouble if you're traveling across it. All right, so we're going to look at this and then we'll talk about heat and how it breaks.
Whole family in Minnesota last night lost power.
Yep.
Ginger,
oh, wow.
Thank you.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate it. Okay, we turn now to a new Justice Department report finding that the FBI still mishandled child sex abuse cases despite changes made after the Larry Nassar scandal involving U.S. gymnasts. Eva Pilgrim is here with more. Such a troubling story. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, Rebecca. The FBI promised reforms after the botched handling of the allegations against U.S. gymnastics physician Larry Nassar, which allowed him to abuse so many more young athletes. But a recent 16-month audit finding serious issues still with how the agency handles these very sensitive cases.
This morning, a new explosive report revealing the FBI continued to mishandle child sex abuse claims even after the Larry Nassar abuse scandal.
It's critically important that the FBI appropriately handle all allegations of hands-on sex offenses against children.
The The DOJ says that despite training, policy updates, and system changes to improve the handling of allegations of crimes against children, an audit of over 300 cases found multiple instances where the FBI did not appropriately respond. The DOJ believes more than 40 of those cases require immediate action.
We found that FBI employees didn't always comply with FBI policies put in place to protect victims.
In nearly half of the incidents reviewed, authorities found that the FBI failed to comply with mandatory reporting requirements to local or state law enforcement.
The premier law enforcement agency in this country is doing nothing.
Attorney John Manley, who served as lead counsel for gymnast Simone Biles, Allie Raisman, Michaela Maroney, and Maggie Nichols during the Larry Nassar trial, says the report is a gut punch.
All former Olympians, all former world champions told their stories, and they did it because they wanted change. And to wake up and find that there really hasn't been change, in fact, it's business as usual in terms of failing children, is devastating.
In 2021, Olympians like Simone Biles and Allie Raisman testified before the U.S. Senate.
We have been failed, and we deserve answers.
Just 2 of the 156 that came forward against Nassar.
And the Inspector General made 11 recommendations to the FBI in light of what they found. The FBI agreed to all 11. We'll have to wait and see.
Alarming report. Eva, thank you. We want to turn now to the opening weekend of college football. Ike Ejiochi is live in College Station, Texas, where one of the marquee games will take place. Ike, good morning.
Good morning, Whit. Do you feel it? It's football. Football is in the air, and we're all treated to an amazing slate of games Thursday, starting with Colorado, or Deion Sanders' Colorado, taking on North Dakota State in a thrilling back-and-forth game. Take a look. Shedeur Sanders wasting no time, picking up where he left off last year by throwing this 70-yard touchdown pass to wide receiver Jimmy Horn in the first quarter. But he wasn't perfect. Early in the third quarter, take a look at this pass from Sanders bouncing off the defender's foot for an interception in the end zone. And Travis Hunter with a huge day, a career-high 3-touchdown performance, capped off by this ridiculous catch in the corner of the end zone where he was covered like plastic on living room furniture. Colorado eventually recovering and winning its first game 31-26. But we are in the middle of a massive Labor Day football stretch with some amazing games coming up later on, like Clemson taking on Georgia, and of course, Texas A&M taking on the Fighting Irish. Guys?
Can't wait. Ike, thanks so much.